Bien. Alarga y te haces hacia atrás. Perro mirando hacia abajo. Estírate. Ahora aquí en perro, de verdad, plántate bien. Que esos brazos se extiendan, ese pecho. Ahora pierna izquierda, arriba y al techo. Doblas rodilla. Aquí no olvides siempre contraer y trabajar. Y ahí, bajas. Toda tu pierna izquierda, dobladita. Si el talón puede ir más al frente, bien. Checa ahí que tu cadera no esté hacia arriba y volteada. La idea es que ambos huesitos estén hacia enfrente.
En vivo desde Houston, la ciudad espacial. Esto es Now Media Televisión.
En vivo desde Houston, la capital espacial, esto es Now Media Televisión.
Si estás pensando en invertir en una propiedad en Houston, Elda Management Services es tu solución. En Elda nos encargamos de todo lo necesario para comprar y administrar tu propiedad con seguridad, tranquilidad y confianza. Llámanos hoy para una asesoría gratuita y sin compromiso al 281-894-8659.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de Now Media es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio, y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
La mejor información nacional e internacional llega ahora a los Estados Unidos con Now Media, de las 7 a las 10 de la mañana de lunes a viernes. Guadalupe Juárez y Sergio Sarmiento estamos en Now Media Television en una colaboración con el Heraldo Media Group.
Un equipo de impuestos es clave para cualquier negocio exitoso. En LMS Group, nuestro objetivo es garantizar que nuestros clientes cumplan totalmente con el IRS, así como desarrollar estrategias tributarias que produzcan rentabilidad, sostenibilidad y crecimiento. Cualquier responsabilidad o problema con el IRS que no se atiende de inmediato se convierte en problema grave, como cuentas bancarias congeladas, gravámenes fiscales y el embargo de sus ingresos. De hecho, cuanto más deje desatendido ese problema con IRS, peor se volverá. En LMS Group tenemos la experiencia para abordar y resolver ese problema tributario de manera rápida y efectiva. Llame a nuestros expertos y permita que en LMS Group seamos parte de su éxito.
Hi, my name's Chris Baker, the newest host at Now Media Television. Join us daily for the Chris Baker Show. News, information, commentary, and guaranteed fireworks. That starts January 2nd on the Now Media News Network.
If you have the perfect health insurance plan and you don't want to save any money, you might want to stop listening now. However, if you are like the rest of us who know that the number one cause of bankruptcy is unexpected medical costs due to subpar coverage, you really want to listen closely. Even if you owe 20% of your medical costs for a large claim, like cancer or a bad accident, it will wipe out the wealth you've worked for your entire career. That's why when it comes to choosing health insurance, it's important to get the right coverage for you and your family. I'm April Clark with Clark Health Insurance. My mission and passion is to simplify the process for small business owners, families, and self-employed individuals. Protect your health and start saving money on your insurance today.
Hey y'all, Fathead here with Fathead Spices. My goal is to give you Texas-made spices, rubs, and food products for all your events. Whether it's outdoor, indoor, or just hanging out at the deer lease, we got you covered. We're proud of our customer service. We want to help you make your food better. One thing's for sure, y'all, life's short, spice it up.
Así debe de ser, siempre sencillo, las cuestiones de economía, finanzas y negocios explicados con peras y manzanas en torno al dinero, lunes a viernes, 10 de la mañana. Now Media, ahí nos vemos.
A continuación, Now Media News, con Sergio Sarmiento y Lupita Juárez. Solo por Now Media Televisión.
Hey, welcome to the Chris Baker Show here on the Now Media News Network, a show, by the way, that is information, news, entertainment, opinion, all that stuff. And sometimes I just sit back and I watch what's going on in the world and I ask myself, am I even awake? Because it seems like it's some type of dream sequence, except no one's running in slow motion toward each other. Now, the opinions on this show are really not Republican versus Democrat. I don't like either of these parties myself, but I try to point out where these people are, well, screwing us. Okay. So let's go ahead and get things started. You know, the World Economic Forum is going on. We've done a lot of focus on it, but we should, because some people think that, well, the World Economic Forum, who cares what those people say? Well, you should care what these people say. Because at the World Economic Forum, this isn't like your collective of moonbats that get together and they, you know, compare patchouli oil recipes or whatever. No, these are world leaders with stroke, with power to implement the agendas that they're talking about. And I want to give you an example of this, where we see politicians argue sometimes, or they oppose each other on things sometimes. But in reality, it's a fraternity. It's a fraternity of elites, and they believe they're entitled to dictate how you live. And if it means they have to lie and cheat to get you there, well, they're going to do it. Let me give you an example. At the World Economic Forum, former Vice President Al Gore was there. We played some video of him yesterday, melting down and screaming about boiling oceans and, and how are we going to self-govern and all other nonsense. But he said something else on the World Economic Forum that you should pay close attention to. Do you remember the Inflation Reduction Act? Well, I knew it was a scam. I said it was a scam. Al Gore confirms that it was a scam. So here we go.
In my country, we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which is primarily a climate act, $369 billion, which will actually be much larger than that because the heavy lifting is done by tax credits that are very long-term, some of them actually open-ended, and the early investments that have already been triggered by it give a great deal of many reasons for believing it's going to be much larger than $369 billion. So I'm very encouraged by that.
Yeah, I'm not, because that's not what we were told. First of all, the name of the legislation is a bald-faced lie. We knew that it was. We talked about it because they were trying to pass this infrastructure bill. So Chuck Schumer, which, by the way, one of the slimiest individuals on the planet, just changed the name of it. Oh, it's the Inflation Reduction Act. And then Joe Manchin, who the senator from, West Virginia, finally got on board. Well, it's the Inflation Reduction Act. Well, I certainly want to reduce inflation. Well, it was a scam. And you can see the joy in Al Gore's face and the rest of these world elites because they love it. They celebrate it. It was really cool. We were able to dupe the American people, or at least they think so. So the alarming thing here is, number one, this guy is just basically letting the cat out of the bag because obviously they think that you're not paying attention and you missed it. Number two, look at what sinister, evil people are trying to take over your life. That's what we need to worry about, because these people are just, they're just wretched. Let me point this out. Yesterday, the United States hit the $31 trillion debt ceiling yesterday. Now there's a big debate over, do we raise the debt ceiling? Now, $31 trillion is 120% of the country's GDP. So that's 120% of the country's GDP. In other words, we're already in the hole before we even get started. That's not good. That really is not sustainable. And there are those, it's funny that in these times, what you see are what many called conspiracy theories are actually reality. The conspiracy theory of the Cloward and Piven strategy. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but the Cloward and Piven strategy was something that we all began to learn about back in the 90s when William Jefferson Clinton, the very horny William Jefferson Clinton, was your president. And Cloward and Piven are a couple of college professors, and they have a strategy, a theory, that you drive up the debt of the United States and it gets so high it can't support itself, and then it collapses. And then after collapse is when you rebuild the country in the way that it should be. You see, this is where it should be, which is anti-freedom, anti-business, anti-everything. I mean, it's really bizarre. So many people criticize myself and others when we talk about this because, that's conspiracy theory. You should put on your tinfoil hat, blah, blah, blah. Again, we just hit a $31 trillion debt ceiling. 120% of the GDP of the country. It's impossible to sustain this. But what do we hear? We need more tax revenue. We need 87,000 IRS agents to go out there and help collect that tax revenue. This is not a good thing. So I know that many people will say, well, Chris, You know, we've got the courts to protect us. We've got the Constitution to protect us. But what we learned by watching the speakers at the World Economic Forum is that, well, that's not exactly the safety net that we think. Let's go to this next video. There's been a big discussion as of late about censorship online, where we find out that pharmaceutical companies, corporations, politicians, the government has been censoring Americans. We have free speech. We have a right to redress our grievances. And they just really don't want us to do it because it's inconvenient to be called out on your BS. So interesting video, Christopher Wray, he's the director of the FBI and a guy that's been under an enormous amount of scrutiny about the way a lot of things have been handled. For example, if a Republican, if a Republican's causing a problem, well, they'll just storm his house, as in Donald Trump. They raided Mar-a-Lago over sensitive, top secret materials that were there. The current president, Joe Biden, also, we find out, had all these same type of materials in his garage next to his Corvette. No raid, no questions, no freak out, no alarmist, other than the fact that they're trying to run that guy, so you're going to hear that. But there was no raid. Well, that's a double standard, isn't it? So Christopher Wray's been under an enormous amount of scrutiny. We also find out that the FBI has been colluding with Google, been colluding with Facebook, been colluding with Twitter, all these social media platforms to decide who gets to talk and who doesn't. So at the World Economic Forum, where all the world oppressors get together, the collection of God complex people, Christopher Wray lays out a nice little case for, hey, we're doing a good job here in America. Here's the video.
And I think the sophistication of the private sector is improving, and particularly important, the level of collaboration between the private sector and the government, especially the FBI, has, I think, made significant strides. Pretty much every technology we could talk about today, we see both great opportunity, but great dangers in the wrong hand.
So the running theme at this World Economic Forum is the great danger of people thinking on their own and speaking out about what they believe and what they found. It's a great danger, according to Chris Wray, but it's even worse. This is the director of the most important and most powerful law enforcement agency in the country, the FBI. And he's flexing over the collaboration between the private sector and the public sector. That's him, and how they're able to collaborate and try to crack down on the disinformation and try to make sure that these dangerous radicals who are coming to different conclusions than us, well, it's very dangerous, very scary, but we're working together with the private sector. That does not give me faith in the future and our liberties. All right. I mean, I know this, boy, Chris, this is very serious on a Friday. Have no fear. We have funny videos, fart jokes, and commentary to come your way. And speaking of the World Economic Forum, we're going to take a nice deep look at exactly what's going on there. There's a lot of stuff to learn, such as they're going to modify you, and they've decided where you can live. And we're going to show you all of that and more coming up next on the Chris Baker Show here on the Now Media News Network.
Comprar o vender una propiedad es un paso que impacta su vida y la vida de su familia y sus seres queridos. De hecho, estudios demuestran que tener un grupo de agentes de bienes raíces con experiencia garantiza un mejor precio al momento de vender, comprar o alquilar una propiedad. Si quiere comprar o vender una propiedad, LMS Realty es su solución. Contamos con los recursos y la experiencia para agilizar su transacción con facilidad y alcanzar el mejor precio posible. Al mismo tiempo, LMS Group puede hacer evaluaciones de mercado y podemos proporcionar varias soluciones de financiamiento para encontrarle la casa de sus sueños. Además, LMS Realty puede proporcionar varias soluciones de financiamiento para que pueda tener su casa con un menor costo posible. Tome acción hoy mismo. LMS Realty es su solución ideal.
¿Alguna vez has deseado obtener mayor concentración y energía para ser más productivo? ¿O has deseado volver a dormir como cuando eras un niño y despertar descansado y listo para salir con toda la energía del mundo? Hola, mi nombre es Marisa Burres con My Vital C. Nuestra empresa ha estado produciendo durante más de 30 años esta molécula que llamamos ESS60. Ayuda con su visión, ayuda a las articulaciones y la flexibilidad. Ordene My Vital C con ESS60 en aceite de oliva, aceite MCT o aceite de aguacate en nuestro enlace www.vitaless60.com. Contáctanos al 832-463-1919 o al 888-441-1993 o por correo electrónico a marisa@myvitalc.com.
Hi, welcome back to the Chris Baker Show here on the Now Media News Network. Glad that you could be with us. This is, by the way, remember, a show of news, information, and opinion, and some smart alecky remarks. That's what we do here, and we're really happy that you're hanging out with us. So let's go to Davos, the World Economic Forum going on. And if you're saying to yourself, Chris, why do you keep talking about this? It's because these are people with the stroke to grossly affect your life, and they are plotting and they're scheming, and the results of all the schemes is that they're in charge and you get to eat bugs. That's really what it is right here. Oh, and well, anyway, so let's get it kicked off with the first video here from the World Economic Forum. The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, is warning you of an impending climate disaster. Here he is. Run for your life. It's Antonio Guterres.
We are flirting with climate disaster. Every week brings a new climate horror story. Greenhouse gas emissions are at record levels and growing. The commitment to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees is nearly going up in smoke.
Good.
Without further action, we are headed to a 2.8 degree increase.
You don't know
and the
that.
consequences, as we all know, would be devastating. Several parts of our planet would be uninhabitable, and for many, it will mean a death sentence.
You know what's uninhabitable?
But
San Francisco.
this is not a surprise. The science has been clear for decades.
No, it hasn't.
And I'm not talking only about UN scientists. I'm talking even about fossil fuel scientists.
About what?
We learned last week that certain fossil fuel producers were fully aware in the 70s that their core product was making our planet.
Oh, wow.
And just like the tobacco industry, they rode roughshod over their own science.
Yeah, look who's talking.
Some
right
in big oil.
All right, how much time is
peddled
left in this
the
jackass?
big lie.
Okay.
And like the tobacco industry, those responsible must be held to account. Today, fossil fuel producers and their enablers are still racing to expand production, knowing full well that this business model is inconsistent with human survival.
You're crazy.
Now, this insanity belongs in science fiction, yet we know the ecosystem meltdown is cold, hard, scientific fact.
No, it's not. You're a liar. You're an authoritarian. All right, so let me break that down for a moment. You listen to some of the words that he just spouted out. First of all, what he says is a fact is not a fact. I don't care what anybody says. In fact, I can show you over 1,400 climate scientists that will tell you and show you that this whole thing is BS. All right. Notice that Mr. UN guy didn't want to talk to them. They're not invited to the Davos Forum. Another thing that he says is he talks about punishing people. He wants to punish fossil fuel producers. He wants to punish ag producers. He is literally talking about punishing people who they say have destroyed the climate. Yet, I remind you, none of their predictions have ever come true. And yet another thing, another moonbat wanting to destroy your freedom with a beautiful full head of hair, that insults me personally. Point that out. Okay. All right. So you better obey the rules. These authoritarians at the World Economic Forum, you need to obey. And that's just all there is to it. Check out this world leader. All these creepy accents, by the way. It just makes me think about it. It's like we're living in a James Bond movie. Here we go.
We have to take care of the rules of the international law and really respect that and not change it in a time when there are countries that choose the way not to respect them. And Russia chose that way. So we have countries that are respecting the rules, and we have countries that are respecting their national interests going beyond the rules. And that is what is happening, and we have to take into consideration the world order.
So there are countries that are acting and thinking nationally as opposed to following the international rules. So this is straight up communism, straight up Marxism. All right. No states rights, no individual rights. Everybody's a collective. You do everything as a collective. You think as a collective. You act as a collective. And if you get out of line, then you're going to have to be punished. So this is Marxism, communism. That's what it is. Centrally planned life run by a bunch of snobs who will be eating beef while you're eating bugs. Okay. So what are these people going to do to you? And how are they going to control you? This is some Frankenstein creep show stuff here. They decided they're going to put a chip in your brain. Listen to this.
You know, I am a futurist. I'm not a perfect predictor of the future, but I'll give you my 1 year, 5 year, 10 year. So focusing in the world of wearable technology as opposed to implanted technology. And I do believe that within many of our lifetimes, we'll see healthy people using implanted brain technology as well. Then we can decode complex thought. But as healthy people in a widespread way start to have their brainwave data collected, the insights that we can gain through pattern recognition will exponentially increase and pretty quickly. So 5 years from now, what we can actually decode will be massively increased from where we are today, simply because we'll have a much greater data set from which we can actually create those correlations. Again, that's frightening, but promising. So you have recognition, memory signals that are preconscious and subconscious, and this is part of why.
So this woman is saying they're going to put a chip in your brain, which, and I quote, will help you decode complex thoughts. Because without the chip in the brain coming from these world elites, you're just moron. You're just an idiot. You don't know what you're doing. But here's the other very sinister part of what these people are saying to you. They want everything and everyone to be exactly the same. There is no individualism at all in this world theory. No individualism at all. No unique personalities. No free thought. You will comply. You will obey. You will wear the same clothes. You will think the same thing. You will agree on everything. First of all, what a boring life. But that's what they're trying to do. Obviously, none of these people recognize God because they believe that their chip is going to improve your brain so that you will be able to understand and decode complex thoughts. So what these people do is they compile data on your behavior, and then they decide what is approved behavior and what is not approved behavior. And whatever is not an approved behavior, they are going to find a way to eliminate it. That's what the chip in the brain is all about. Doesn't this sound like a crazy, scary movie? It's like a bad, scary movie. And just take a look at how this COVID vaccine has worked out. How many people are going to get this stupid brain chip and start skitzing out on you? Right? If you think people are snapping at McDonald's now and getting into brawls, wait till the brain chip people start, losing it when they'll get like some giant, super strength or something. They'll be ripping the deep fryer out of the McDonald's and throwing it at the guy at Burger King who looked at him wrong or something. I'm telling you, this is dangerous. It is scary. Yes, Tim.
Could you imagine what would happen if they triggered somebody's brain chip as they're driving down the road?
Well, yeah.
All of a sudden just driving and then they just get like all stiff and they don't know what the hell they're doing because...
Well, or if say you go to an area that is unauthorized, they'll just shut off your brain chip and you just drop right there. That's the world. I'm telling you, man. If you think why is it? So I know some people are going, oh, Chris, you're just so paranoid. So I think I've got a good reason to be.
It's reality, and that's the sad part.
We keep trying to tell you. All right, here's another one, right? Here we go. Tony Blair, remember him? Tony Blair, I remember when he was the prime minister of England, he was such a hip guy. He wore cool suits. He dated hot chicks. I mean, he was really awesome, that Tony Blair. Tony Blair shows up at the World Economic Forum, and once he's around all his world elite buddies, oh, baby, the truth starts coming out. Check out Tony Blair, former prime minister of England, talking about you. Listen to this.
I think there's a huge impetus now for a national digital infrastructure. Digitization in healthcare is, I think, one of the great game changers. We should be helping countries to develop a national digital infrastructure, which they will need with these new vaccines. And then, finally, it's also about showing people and showing the political leadership that you can make a positive difference to your healthcare system by adopting these measures because they've got an impact beyond any particular disease or pandemic.
So he wants a national registration of the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. And by the way, what is this obsession with vaccines all the time? These cats are all about vaccines. We're going to vaccinate you against the COVID. We're going to vaccinate you against depression. We're going to vaccinate you against running slow. We're going to vaccinate you against low IQ. What are they not going to vaccinate you for? Baldness, that's one. You notice none of these guys say a thing about a cure for baldness. Not one. You have any idea how happier the world would be if you cured baldness? Nobody cares. Bothers me. Tony Blair. This is the guy. He wants an international database of vaccination. You see where this goes? Control, baby. Yes, Tim.
On Outlaw Streamers on your show there, you've been talking about the social credit score.
Oh, yeah.
And this is in my opinion, you're seeing the start of a global social credit score.
Social credit score.
And they're using your health as the way to get it started because it's the easiest way to turn over.
Climate change, health. That's how they want to subjugate people. In fact, where do they want you to live? Check this out. So they've come up with, this started in Saudi Arabia. I think it's called the Blade or something like that. But I want you to check this out. They want to eliminate cities where you live in your house and you go to the store and you go to work. They want to eliminate it and consolidate it into what they are calling, I think it's either the Blade or the Razor or some kind of goofy stuff like that. If you see here in the video, they want you to live in this long, skinny mall. That's what it is. See? This long, skinny mall. That's the inside, all these pods and little apartments, and you'll all live in this. See, this, I'm telling you, this is the creepiest thing. They're building this in Saudi Arabia right now. But what's interesting is when you look at this video and you see what they have planned for you. Look at that, Tim. They got flying saucers in the mall. You'll be driving around in flying saucers in the mall and floating trees and all that. These things are as tall as the Empire State Building and the Eiffel Tower. They want to put 9 million people in this. I believe it's 9. But you know what's out there? Notice this. They show you this thing. Notice that there is absolutely no civilization outside of that. And you know what else I noticed, Tim? No doors.
Not a single one.
Not a single door. And of course, the way they sell it to you is that you will be 5 minutes from everything you need. This is what they want to do. They want to put you in a habit trail like a rat and let you live there while they feed you your bugs. All right. I'm Chris Baker. Coming up on the big show here. Coming up, we got immigration news. Big story out of the Midwest. Young kids being abused, and it all comes from illegal immigration. And I'll show you all of that next here on the Chris Baker Show on the Now Media News Network.
You probably already know that first impressions are never forgotten. However, did you also know the way you feel about yourself contributes to your quality of life and the opinions of others? Hi, my name is Kristen Gunderson. My mission is to help people by flipping the switch inside their body, which in turn will help them to feel better and do more. In fact, once you feel your best, you will be able to pour into others, keep your cup full, and reach every goal you have set up for yourself, whether it's personal, family, or business related. The way you feel will dictate the way you think and the way you live your life. Feeling your best is necessary to achieve your goals. You deserve to put yourself first. Let me help you flip the switch so you can feel better and do more. Let's talk. I know I can help.
Hi, my name is Elias Basabe, founder of Little Maria's Cafe restaurant in West Houston, located in 2901 Wilkers Drive, Suite 137, first floor. Here you will find a family-friendly and relaxed environment where you can enjoy a delicious homemade breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We know you need to get to work fast, and we want you to enjoy a tasty, quality, and healthy homemade food. So come and visit us for a great nutritious meal at an affordable price. We specialize in tasty breakfasts, deli sandwiches, fish, even barbecue cookouts. Little Maria's Cafe has it all. We only use the great quality of Head meats and products. Just like you, we love to get you up early. Little Maria's Cafe is open from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can dine in with us during breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or we can have it ready for you for pickup. Visit us today on the first floor of the CMPC Center at 2901 Wilkers Drive, Suite 137, first floor. Order now at 832-667-8376, Little Maria's Cafe.
Hi, welcome back to the Chris Baker Show here on the Now Media News Network. News, information, opinion, sarcasm. That's what we do here on the Chris Baker Show, where we live by the mantra, the world is cracking up, and we are here to chronicle it. So yesterday on the show, we talked about the fact that there are 250,000 people illegally crossing the border every month. That's a lot of people. In fact, this was just last night in Del Rio, Texas. People coming right across the border, they are not deterred in any way. They're just rolling right across. They have cell phones. They're waving at their friends. Hey, man, I didn't know you made it. Yeah, I made it too. So I don't know how the country survives this. I'll be really honest. But there's more to the story. As many people know, I've always looked at this as a human rights issue. So currently in the Midwest, we've got not a breaking story. It started, I think, in December, but it's moving forward. And we're finding out that according to the federal investigators, they found 50 children, some as young as 13, who were illegally employed in Midwestern slaughterhouses. Okay, so that first and foremost is bad. All right. Hiring children to work in slaughterhouses, 13 and younger. It's cruel, it's inhumane, and it's illegal. A great example, my youngest son is 15 years old. He wants to go to work because he wants money, which is a good motivation. He can't get a job right now. Nobody will hire him because he's 15, because government puts so many restrictions on hiring a 15-year-old that it's just not worth the paperwork. So he has to continue leeching off of me until he turns 16. Anyway, so this is not the first time we've heard about this kind of stuff. But I mean, just imagine a slaughterhouse that is illegally hiring children. And guess what? These children are undocumented. In fact, here's a photo of a young child right there working in the slaughterhouse, cleaning machines, doing stuff. These are children, man. And so now the investigation has gone in a different direction, which I think is very important. The investigation now is not only were they hiring people, but were these kids victims of labor trafficking? The theory is, and the evidence is pointing to, that these kids are working in the slaughterhouses at the behest of, you ready? The cartels, the smuggling cartels. They're working off their parents and their own smuggling fees. This happens. It's just like all those little cantinas around Houston, Texas. Young girls forced into prostitution to pay off smuggling fees. Same thing going on right here, if, again, for legal reasons, allegedly. But this isn't the first time that this kind of stuff has gone on up here. Back in, 2017 or 18, a tomato plant in O'Neill, Nebraska, they were raided by ICE. The tomato plant had a couple of hundred undocumented workers working, and the tomato plant was a hydroponic tomato plant. So in other words, everything's grown in water. DHS raids the plant. They found a couple of hundred people working there that were in the country illegally. They had false documents. So just for a moment, let's take a look at what was going on here. From a criminal perspective, you had obviously illegal immigrants. Second, they had false documents like Social Security cards, birth certificates, driver's licenses, all false documents. But here's the other thing. These people were brought into O'Neill, Nebraska to work at this tomato plant, and they were herded like cattle. So they were told where they were going to live, which, by the way, an apartment complex that just happened to be owned by the guy who was smuggling them. They had to cash their paychecks at a specific store where they, of course, paid a percentage of that paycheck to the store for cashing the paycheck. That store also, coincidentally, run by the smuggler guy, okay? So they were told where they had to shop. They were told where they had to live. And they also had to pay a quote-unquote tax. So they were, if I remember correctly, they were being paid under the table. So they weren't really paying a tax, but they were having taxes taken out of their pay, where these people thought they were paying a tax, but they weren't. They were just paying extortion to, oh yeah, the guy that orchestrated their entry into O'Neill, Nebraska to do this. So this is a huge problem, and this actually leads to the political side of this, right? Because you have people who oppose illegal immigration like me. I oppose it mostly for the human rights aspect of it. All the abuse these people take, it's just terrible. They're beaten up, they're extorted, they're sexually assaulted, their children are taken away from them. In fact, I was talking to a fella about 2 weeks ago, and he's a ag producer down on the Texas border. He told me the story of a 5-year-old girl that was found walking all by herself, and all she had was a phone number taped to her body. Now, the idea, I guess, was if somebody finds her, they'll say, well, she's got a phone number, you know, like she's wearing a dog tag or something. So she's got a phone number. So why don't we'll call that phone number and see where she belongs. I mean, this is terrible. I can't even imagine, you know, the sex trafficking that's been going on in this country with children. Just, we know it's happening. Okay, we know. So sickening. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to bum you out. It's a Friday. Tim, I'm bumming everybody out on a Friday.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm sorry. So anyway, so now we got meat processors. So let's look at the politics of this. Allegedly, we have Democrats who are on the side of open borders. And then we allegedly have Republicans who are on the side of close the borders and enforce the law. But there's a middle in there that you should pay attention to. The Chamber of Commerce and others, they really don't want to stem the flow of undocumented immigrants into the country. Why? Because they can exploit them. They can use them in these food processing facilities. They can pay them less money. They don't have to worry about benefits. They don't have to worry about unionization. Because why? Because you have people who are trying to make a living. Some of them obviously sending money back home to their families. And so they don't want to do anything that's going to mess up their sweet gig. I mean, they have steady employment. They have steady income. They can send money to their families back home. They can prosper in America. They're still being underpaid, in my opinion, but it's a controlled labor force. So the combination is Republicans like cheap labor, Democrats like open borders. So therefore, both sides kind of wink and nod and pretend that they care about these people, when in reality, it's these people that should be the priority, at least in my humble opinion. And I'd also like to ask this question. Where is the brave Mexican president AMLO in all this? He knows these people are being used and exploited. He knows that children of his country are 12, 11, 13 years old, working in meat processing plants, cleaning machines, when these kids should be in school. He knows this, but is he saying anything? Nah. Why would you want to mess this sweet gig up? We can always appear to be tough, but when it really comes to stepping up and protecting these people, nah, not going to happen. Why would you do that? That's so hard. I mean, when you're trying to conquer the world and put everybody in some mall to live in, eating bugs and being obedient, why would you worry about the poor people who are being coerced into paying off smuggling debts by working in some, horrible meat processing plant? I bet those things stink too. You know what I want to know, Tim? What do they do with all the poop in the cows? That's what I want to know. Yes.
They actually pull it all together with the blood, and once a week they boil it all.
To do what?
To get rid of it.
To boil it.
Yeah, they
just
boil it. And it goes into the air.
There's nothing left.
It
just goes into the air.
That's as far as I know. Growing up in Lexington, where they have an IVP factory,
yeah,
every Thursday they boil the blood, and because you can smell the factory.
Boil the blood, band name.
But you can smell the factory from about a mile or an hour radius around Lexington, Nebraska.
So Wednesday is blood. Thursday
is blood.
Well, you don't want to boil the blood before the weekend.
It is disgusting driving down I-80 when that happens.
Wow, that's nasty. But hey, little children should be able to go in there and clean that stuff up. It's terrible. I mean, they're teaching these kids to just be subservient, right? As they all hide because, hey, I don't want to make the cartel guy mad by losing my job and unable to give him his money. It's really sickening. It is a human rights tragedy. So there we go. I cheered you up on that on Friday. All right. I'm Chris Baker, and this is the Now Media News Network. Coming up on the show, we have a variety of moronic videos. We'll show you and make fun of them. And I have a weekend binge watch tip for you. Tell you all about that and more next here on the Chris Baker Show on the Now Media News Network.
Hi there, this is Matthew Paul, CEO of Mayana Financial, where we'll help you live in the black and set up your financial future. You, as a business owner, is running your business and should not be worrying about your upcoming payroll or other expenses. You, as a family or individual, made a lot of money last year but trying to figure out where everything went. And that's where we come and help you. We are financial coaches and registered financial advisors, where we sit with you, create a budget, and ensure that your high interest debt is paid off and plan for your upcoming expenses. In your business, we will help you understand where the money is going and create a plan so you don't have to borrow at a high interest debt. We come across and help you to attain your financial future. So if you need to learn more about us, you can reach us at 281-435-1888. Again, I am Matthew Paul, CEO of Mayana Financial, where we help you live in the black and set up your financial future.
Welcome back to the Chris Baker Show here on the Now Media News Network. Boy, we have really filled people with a lot of paranoia and conspiracy whack job stuff today. No doubt about it. But you know, the world cracks up. We're here to chronicle it, and there's a bunch of people in Switzerland right now plotting ways to take over every aspect of your life, and I believe we need to show that because we can make fun of them and mock what they want to do and also expose these authoritarians for what they are. Anyway, so we showed you in the last segment where they want you to live, all right? They want to put you in this mall, basically, where everything you need is going to be 5 minutes away from you. So some things about that alarm me is who are they to determine exactly what I need, right? I mean, I know what I need, and sometimes what I need just kind of pops up. Boom. Oh, I need that. So the other thing is they can control everything you do. Because there's this big movement now to get you away from eating meat. They want you to eat bugs instead. Well, if you live in that Sky Mall, you're not going to be able to go buy whatever food you want. You're going to have to go and choose from the food that they allow in. So I just wanted to bring that up because the next question is, how are they going to enforce this? Boston Dynamics seems to be doing a lot of work in this arena. Boston Dynamics is developing robots. They are developing robots to work, and they are developing robots to enforce. We've already had stories where they're putting robots on college campuses. UTA, University of Texas Arlington, I remember they had a robot that would just kind of roll around the campus and look for bad people doing bad things. But that was like a giant round thing that just kind of rolled around. Their robot technology has definitely improved. Check out this video from Boston Dynamics. This is a robot that not only, moves like a human, but it also does human things. See, we have the example. There's a guy. Oh, look at that. That guy is missing a tool. Doggone it. I need this thing. I need my bag of tools. Let me tell my robot. Look at that. There's the robot. Okay, I'm looking for the tools. Where do I go? Where do I get it? All right, I got to get up there. So the robot now is thinking. Look at that. The robot's got some pizzazz in its movements. So now the robot's got to go up there and, we got to get the tool bag. Robot picks up the tool bag. And now we're off to the races. Look how creepy that is. Now imagine that with a gun telling you to eat your bugs. So there he goes. He throws the bag up to the labor guy. Boom. Now he's going to get down. Here goes the robot. Now watch this dismount. They just got to flex, don't they? Whippy! Yeah. Look at that robot. That is your future police force right there. That's right. Yeah, I know. It's all coming true. Terminator. It's all coming true. I mean, listen, how many times do we have to hear an activist tell us that police are all racist? Okay. They're violent. They're racist. They're unfair. The only way to do this and actually police a society is with an autonomous robot. It has no feelings. It has no opinion. It merely follows orders. Yeah. Be on the lookout, because that, I believe, is part of your future. Okay. Now, at the World Economic Forum, I know we keep talking about it, but it's the big thing going on besides, a war in Ukraine, a wide open border. It all goes back to the World Economic Forum. Okay. So what are they doing for entertainment? There's nothing to me that truly shows you the mindset of moonbats than by what they consider entertainment. Well, turn the volume up on this there, Tim. The World Economic Forum had some musical entertainment that they brought out, and, well, needless to say, it's rather eccentric. Here it is.
Like a flower or tree, I'll throw my head back and sing, and sing, and sing, and sing, and sing.
With a bird call at the end. The friggin' bird call at the end. How about that? Now, first of all, I just want to say, I can't even imagine what that music is, but they killed it. That girl can sing. She has a beautiful voice, and that moonbat on the guitar, he rocked that thing. So I give him big ups for that. But so I did a little research. What are they singing about? That song right there was about the bleaching of the coral in the ocean. I don't know how you get bleaching coral in the ocean out of that, but that's what that was all about. Bleaching the coral in the ocean is woo. And then she did a bird call at the very end. How about that, Tim? That was pretty amazing. Right there. That guy was killing it on the guitar. I mean, he killed it on the guitar. And she has a beautiful voice. I just don't know what the hell she's singing about. Woo. You know what you had right there? Let me tell you what you had right there. You had some first-class Euro yodeling going on right there. That is some first-class Euro yodeling. All right. Here. Now, as we told you yesterday on the show, I believe that they're pushing Joe Biden out. They're pushing the president out. He's already served his use. He's signed legislation that is incredibly horrible into law. He's done it. So all the anger can be directed at him when all this is falling apart. So he has served his useful spot. So when he leaves, which I predict will be by the end of March, I believe he will have resigned. He will be gone. And Kamala Harris will be the president. Kamala Harris has a knack for talking to people like they're 6-year-olds. And when I listen to her talk, I have to wonder, or at least it makes sense to me. No wonder they're coming up with all this authoritarian legislation and a lack of freedom, personal individual liberty, and things like that, because apparently they think you're stupid. So here's Kamala Harris explaining to you how electricity works. This is pure gold. Here we go.
Today, America has more than 500,000 miles of transmission lines, enough to wrap around the globe 24 times. These lines connect the power plants where electricity is created to homes and businesses and schools and hospitals across our nation. Think about it. Every time you